Hunter was a passenger in a car that was driven by a 17-year-old boy who had his provisional license for a very short time.
And it was my captain at work, and he told me that Hunter had been in an accident. And I asked him, where was he? And he said he was at the coroner's office.
Nothing ever prepares you for the death of a child.
There's nothing to fix the loss of a child. Nothing at all.
Motor vehicle collisions are the leading cause of death for young people. In California alone, over 2,000 teens were killed in crashes between 2010 and 2015. Many members of law enforcement have witnessed firsthand the devastation of a fatal car crash. Our job is not only to take the call and handle the scene, but often we are responsible for a death notification, explaining to parents why they will never see their child alive again. Any law enforcement official will tell you this is the worst part of our job. It's something that was preventable and should never have happened. We don't ever forget a notification we have to make to a parent.
You put yourself in that position with the parents. What are they going through? How do you explain to them that your daughter or your son is not coming home no more?
All too often, these fatalities involved inexperienced teen drivers, many of whom are ignoring the graduated driver licensing law. Teen driver crashes and fatalities have declined since the implementation of the graduated driver licensing. That's why enforcing the GDL law has become a priority for California law enforcement.
Teen drivers are at a greater risk on the road because they're inexperienced and often engage in risky behaviors. The graduated driver licensing law is designed to help new drivers build experience and skills behind the wheel while minimizing the highest risk situations, including distractions like young passengers in the car and nighttime driving. Just as with learning to do any complex task, becoming a safe driver takes many hours of practice under diverse conditions. The GDL law has reduced crashes and fatalities by 40 to 60%. It saves lives and reduces injuries. The system breaks up the process of driving into 3 phases: a permit phase, a provisional phase, and a full privileged phase of licensure. Teens can obtain a permit at age 15 and a half after passing a written test. They must hold the permit for a minimum of 6 months. During the learning permit phase, teens must acquire a minimum of 50 hours of practice behind the wheel with the supervision of a parent or guardian. 10 of these hours must be at night. After holding the permit for 6 months and getting the necessary hours of supervised practice, teens may take the driving test. With a passing score, the teen may drive on the road solo. However, certain restrictions are in place to reduce the risk during that first year of driving. GDL focuses on the first year because it is the riskiest year. Teens are nearly 10 times more likely to be in a crash in the first 12 months of driving than during the rest of their driving career.
It's your responsibility to understand and enforce the GDL law. Our goal isn't to target teen drivers, but to reduce the number of teens killed or injured in motor vehicle crashes. Enforcing the GDL law helps keep teen drivers and all California motorists safe.
Inexperience behind the wheel is a primary reason for teens crashing. However, distractions such as passengers, cell phones, text messaging, social media apps, and music contribute to high-risk teen driving behaviors. Reckless and distracted driving is the #1 cause of teen driver crashes in our state. There are 3 main areas of violations under California's GDL law. Law 1. Texting while driving is against the law in California, and as a provisional licensed driver, any use of cell phone or other electronic device is illegal while operating a motor vehicle unless there is an emergency. Law 2. A provisional license holder is only permitted to transport passengers over the age of 20 unless a licensed driver 25 years or older is in the front passenger seat. In California, family affiliation does not exempt the holder of a provisional license from the passenger restriction. A 16 or 17-year-old driver's risk of being killed in a crash increases when there are young passengers in the vehicle. Compared to driving without any passengers, the risk doubles when carrying 2 passengers younger than 21. The risk quadruples when carrying 3 or more passengers younger than 21. When teens crash, in addition to injuring or killing themselves, they often take the lives of their passengers as well. About 50% of teen driving fatalities last year were passengers. It is important that we are talking to teens not just about being good drivers, but also about being good passengers. Law 3 states that the holder of a provisional license who is under 18 years of age may not drive between 2300 and 0500. This curfew may be waived for an emergency, which in the judgment of local law enforcement is of sufficient severity and magnitude to substantially endanger the health, safety, welfare, or property of a person, or for legitimate employment or religious activity. In the case of employment or religious activity, the teen must carry written verification in the form of a letter. One of the most important requirements of the GDL law is the use of seatbelts by all vehicle occupants. The law states that the holder of the provisional license must ensure that all occupants of the vehicle are secured in a properly adjusted and fastened seatbelt or child safety seat. About half of the people killed on California roadways last year would be alive if they had worn their seatbelts.
It was his fault that my brother's not here anymore. But he's not a bad kid. He just was distracted. He got distracted by the other kids in the car. He wanted to have some fun. He wanted to be the cool older brother, and that unfortunately ended in a tragedy.
And I see such a simple choice that took my brother's life and makes you realize why those rules are in place.
The purpose of graduated driver licensing is to make sure young and inexperienced drivers are given adequate training prior to receiving full driving privileges and to reduce the number of teen driving collisions and deaths. Placing a teen driver behind the wheel of a vehicle is entrusting them with a tremendous responsibility. As law enforcement officers, we owe it to teens, parents, and all motorists to educate and enforce the restrictions imposed on teen drivers by the California GDL law. The mission of the California Highway Patrol and our allied agencies across the state is to reduce fatalities and injuries on California roadways resulting from traffic collisions. After all, we're fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, neighbors, coaches, and community members. Yet, we have the privilege of also saving lives by simply doing our jobs and enforcing the California GDL laws. We would like to recognize and thank the California Office of Traffic Safety for their efforts in uniting our law enforcement partners in the common goal of saving lives.
For additional information on the California graduated driver license laws and distracted driving, please visit impactteendrivers.org.